Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and it's time for another question and answer session. This is the 2022 version. I think the last one I did was about 9 months ago. And this is where I write down some common questions that you email me with, and I answer them. So I pretty much only do the ones that I have at least five of the same questions. And I'm pretty good about responding to your emails, although sometimes they get lost. So if I don't respond to an email, just send it again because I get a lot of them every day. All right. So one of the most common ones was, how do I get endorsements? Well, that's kind of a complicated question. So I'll try to answer that as quick as I can. But endorsements are not hard to get as long as you are doing something that the company deems is important, and it will enable their product to be visible to the general percussion or drumming community. So that's how you get an endorsement as far as the company's interest. Now, how do you apply for an endorsement? Well, basically, if you see a product that you really like, you can send an email to the company and try to find out who's in charge of artist relations. That's your best bet. And you send an email, and in that letter or email, you need to sound very professional and mature. And, if you're not used to writing these kinds of letters, get some help because it's important that you come across as a professional, mature person. And you tell them about yourselves, and you might want to include your CV or your resume, what you've done, what you're doing, and also a statement of how you can help them, and as well as how they can help you. Now, when I got my first endorsement was, I believe, with Vic Firth, way back in the day, probably, I don't know, 35 years ago or something. And I approached them. At the time, I was doing a lot of clinics and a lot of concerts and a lot of touring. And I told them that. And, no one knew who I was or anything. And they were great. A guy named Neil Larrabee, who is still involved with the company. And he was my first contact with them. And I started doing some clinics, which they sponsored for PAS and different music stores and stuff, and they were great. And that was my first endorsement. And eventually they helped me make a stick. I was always interested in making a drum set stick that I, wanted to use rather than trying to keep finding something. I was on a journey forever. And so I kind of designed the stick, and they mass produced it, and we went back and forth for a while. And they, they would send me lots of sticks, and I would do clinics. Then the clinics stopped because I got really, really busy, and I stopped doing clinics. But they're still actually very supportive, and I'm recently I ordered a bunch of sticks, but now I have to pay for them because I'm not really doing any clinics or anything anymore. And actually, I'm going to make those available. We'll talk about that maybe in another video, to the general public, because they have never been available to the general public. So that was my first endorsement. And then I got a Mike Balter endorsement. Mike was great because I was doing a lot of theater work and things, and he would make me special mallets that were double-ended for timpani and, bells or xylophone and marimba and things like that. It was fantastic. That was my favorite endorsement of all time because you could call him on the phone and talk to him about what you needed. And he was very responsive, and he's just a fantastic guy. And then I got a Paiste endorsement, and that was okay. They weren't a very responsive company as far as getting back to me. They did send me a bunch of cymbals at first. I mean, a lot of cymbals. And some really nice ones from the traditional line, which was what I was interested in. But I've kind of lost touch with them. I don't really need any more cymbals, but that was sort of an example of a company, in my opinion, that did not keep up with any kind of endorsements. And I currently have a Doc Sweeney endorsement. I love their drums. They're fantastic drums, and very small company, but great company. And I have a set of their drums and some snare drums as well. So to get all of those endorsements, once you have your first one, mine was Vic Firth, you could then say, oh, I have an endorsement already, and that really opens the door for you to do that. And then you can get more and more of them. And then once you get a little bit older and you have, more things under your belt and you have high profile jobs, it might be a teaching job or college job, or, you're touring with a national act or something, that company can be real responsive or not. They get lots and lots and lots of inquiries all the time about this. And, I'm sure they don't even read them all. And I know I sent a bunch out when I was younger and I never heard back from, 75% of them. But the ones you do get, you get into a relationship with them, and it can last for many, many years. So there's several tiers of endorsements. The first tier, that's almost extinct now, would be if they're paying you. So that does exist, but for very few people. And those would be the people who are the most high-profile people. They might play with the most popular bands, and so they'll have gear sent on tour for you. They might pay you to use their product and all that. So in the old days, that was much more common. So don't count on that until you're, world famous. Then there's another tier where you do clinics like I did. That was my tier. And they would send you equipment for free and have some equipment there and also pay you for doing the clinic. So in other words, make it possible for you to do the clinic if the music store or the college or whatever didn't have the money to support that, they would support it just to get their product out there, which is fantastic. I think that's the best thing about endorsements right there. And then there's the regular old endorsement where you end up paying cost, well, they say cost, for the product. And sometimes I think that's just a way of them selling more things. I've noticed that a lot of these companies have so many endorsers, like hundreds and hundreds. In the old days, it wasn't like that. They might have, 20 or 30. There's just so many. And a lot of these folks are getting cost. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. They're paying cost or market value is what I call it for products. So they're still paying money, but they're getting things cheaper than if you went to the music store and did it. And then they can use your name and your likeness and all that. And you do sign a contract. I have several contracts. They're mostly all the same, saying that, they want you to use their product and all that. Now, I don't have a drum set endorsement other than Doc Sweeney. They're very, very reasonable. But I used to have some from some other companies, and they're very strict about what I could use. But I have like 15 different drum sets, and they're all different. And I like them all for different things. So you'll always see me using different drum sets. And, if a company's going to limit you like that, then that's something you need to consider for sure. But when you go out and play live and you do all this, then you should use their stuff as much as humanly possible, and their sticks or whoever you're endorsing. Okay? So that's how you do it. That was a long-winded answer, as all my answers are, but that's how I would suggest going about it. Start on the bottom level, start with a small company, and just keep building, and maybe one day you'll get your Ludwig endorsement or your Tama or Yamaha or Zildjian or Vic Firth or whatever endorsement. All right, how do I break into theater and orchestra work? Well, that's a huge one, and that might be, now that I think about it, the sort of title of another video right there. There's a lot of ways. There's a front door and a back door, okay? The front door is auditioning, or as in theater work, knowing the contractor, all right, and then getting in that way. But you really got to prove yourself. So you might sub. That's how I got a lot of my theater gigs. I'd sub, and then if they like you, they'll use you all the time. And then if another show comes up, like that's permanent, let's say in New York, then you can be on the list for that, or the touring version and all that. So the contractor is the number one thing for the theater gigs. If you're in with the contractor, they trust you, you have a track record, you're good for years and years and years. The orchestra world's completely different. Most of these jobs are won by audition, which you will have to do if you want a permanent job, especially for a principal player. But there is a back door, and the back door is the student way. So I play in an orchestra, and I have a lot of students over the years, and I will recommend those students to the principal player. Or when I played principal, I would just use my students. And, they have to be really, really good. I'm not going to just use someone without any experience. But you got to start somewhere. And I really believe in the pipeline from student to professional. You have to get experience somehow. And if I have a really good student who I trust is not going to, destroy the music, to go in there and start getting some experience on less important concerts, and over time they can build up the trust and all that, then I will recommend them, and then they can start doing it like that without an audition that's formal. In other words, they'll come in, that's sort of your audition, playing the gig over and over, different gigs. So I have, a number of dozens over all these years that have played with the orchestra I play in and different orchestras based on my recommendation. So that's the other way. And I know a lot of other teachers in this country anyway do it exactly like that. And in fact, that was the way in the old days that people would get big gigs, like the New York Philharmonic. They might have been students of Saul Goodman or Buster Bailey for that, or, same with all the big orchestras. The students would do it sometimes without a formal audition at all. They just kind of walked in there and did it. And again, they were all great players. They deserve the gig, but now it's all about audition. And auditions are really, 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 really difficult because you could be a great player and musician, but you might not audition well and you'll never get a gig. And it happens. Or you could be a great auditioning person, like a machine, and get the gig and then just be not a good player. So that happens too. And then you have to get tenure. So if that doesn't work out, then you don't get tenure and you don't keep the gig. You might have the gig for a year or two, and then you move on. So that's how you break into those two things. I'll try to maybe do another video on this, if you have any more questions. Oh, the next one, do I sell my drum set sticks? I will be. I'm expecting a shipment here every day. It's the middle of February, and so I will be in both hickory and maple. So if you're interested, drop me a line. I will have those to sell, and they will be very, very reasonable price. It is almost impossible for me to sell these sticks I make cheaply. They're expensive. I know they're expensive, but literally by the time it's all said and done, I'm working for minimum wage when I make these things because the wood is unbelievably expensive. The hours that go in, the finishing, everything. It takes so many hours. So I thought about stopping, and I might eventually making these custom sticks. Just finding the wood these days with all these shortages and all this stuff is a nightmare. I get wood, I order wood, it's bad wood. I've ended up wasting $700-800 on firewood, basically, that I can't use. It's got knots. You can't make a drumstick that's got knots. So I'm always on the lookout. I used all my, I still have some old wood, like leopard wood and black wenge left from really old, like 20 years ago. I bought so much of that stuff. I have some left, but all the other woods, the heavy zebra wood, it's all gone. So those of you who have those sticks, congratulations. I'll never make those again. The bubinga, all gone. Purple heart, all gone. Tiger wood, all gone. I can't get any good wood, heartwood anymore. I've tried and I'm not wasting any more money. So little rant here, but that's just the way things are in the world now with supply. Hopefully it'll get a little better. But I do have plenty of leopard wood and black wenge. So I'll continue to sell those sticks. I also have persimmon, a lot left. That's a tough wood, I've learned. I had a whole persimmon tree I bought. And then it's very knotty and it checks over time. So it's so hard that checking means cracking, and then you can't use it. So a lot of firewood there, but I still have enough to probably make another couple hundred pairs of persimmon. So I got to cut all that up still. But I will be selling my drum set sticks. They will be maple and they will be hickory, which is heavier. And they sent me some samples, and that's my drum set stick, by the way, if you've never seen it. And the new ones will be somewhat identical, maybe a little different with the logo. And they will be hickory, which is quite a bit heavier, about 62 grams. So I've been using those, what they sent me, and they're great. And if you play rock, it's a great stick for that. And the maple ones are great for jazz. That's what I've been using forever, for everything really, for jazz and rock. Okay, let's see. Who do I play with? I get a lot of questions about that. I play with a lot of people because I'm a freelance player, as well as my orchestra gig where I play with everybody who comes in there. A lot of times drum set as well. Recently over Christmas, I played with this guy, Tony DeSere, who's a kind of a Frank Sinatra guy. He's pretty well known. Thorgy Thor, the great, well, you know who that is, or Thorgy, I should say. That was a lot of fun. Just look that up. Melinda Doolittle, I did a really cool gig with her. She was on American Idol. All these were through the symphony. They come in, I play drum set. These are one-offs. And I've done so many, I mean, just dozens and dozens and dozens of artists like this that I would never really get the opportunity to play with if I didn't have that gig. So, and then also I freelance around here. I don't like to travel much anymore. I'm kind of a homebody, but I used to tour a lot with a lot of different artists and theater shows and all that stuff. And if you go online, you can read my, I'm not getting into it here. You can read my resume or my biography or whatever, and it'll have a whole list of stuff there. So, so yeah, I've played with a lot of people. I guess if you want famous people, Aretha Franklin, several times. Ray Charles, several times. When I lived in Atlantic City, I played with a lot of artists there in showrooms, many people. And again, you could check online and find all that there. And James Taylor's another one that I did some gigs with on percussion. So here's another one related to that. What drummers have you recorded? I thought that was really interesting, and I got that from a lot of people after I posted some studio stuff. A lot of great drummers I've recorded as an engineer. Well, brief list here. I made Jeff Watts, Ed Thigpen, Ed Shaughnessy, Mike Spiro, Michael Carvin, Jimmy Cobb. Other artists, Joey Calderazzo, Branford Marcellus, Ellis Marcellus, Delfeo Marcellus, Terrell Stafford, Dewey Redman, Harry Connick, lots and lots of folks like that. And of course, a lot of lesser well-known people. Cyrus Chestnut, he's well-known, I guess, but did several recordings with him. So these are guys that I've recorded, and it's always been great, and I enjoy it very, very much. Working with the different personalities and getting to know them, and it was always wonderful. Do you ever get tired of playing? No. That's a short answer to that one. I love playing. It's my whole life. Other than my family, who I love dearly, and my kids and my wife, I love playing, and I love drums. I love percussion, and it's what I live for. And if I couldn't do it, I don't know what I'd do, because this is what I've done my whole life. I've never had another job. I also like woodworking. I do that. I make the sticks and do other things like that. But this is what I do. And that's why I make the videos. Not to make money, because I don't hardly make any money. But I love to teach, and I love to play. And I want to share it with everybody, just because I love it so much. So I don't get tired of playing. Now, do I get burnt out? Yeah, but not on playing. I get burnt out on sometimes dealing with people. As you all know, sometimes people can be exhausting. There's lots of different kinds of people in the world, and these days it seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. But that will burn me out, dealing with difficult people. Not gigging at this point in my career. I never have to deal with anybody difficult, because I just won't do the gig, because I don't need to if I don't want to. So, but as far as just, other things and just different situations, and especially sometimes people online can be really strange and kind of stalky and weird. That's exhausting and burning out. So a lot of times I'll just turn off my phone and turn off the computer, and I will have blackout days, which is hard to do these days because I get so many emails and texts and all that stuff. But I try to do it, and that helps me recover from that social burnout. And I am an introvert. I am not very social. I don't go out and party. I've never been one to hang out a lot. So an introverted person if you are one, you know that it's exhausting being in social situations. So that's how I get burnt out. But I never get burnt out from practicing or playing. I just don't, because I love to do it. I look forward to it every day.